Hey, welcome back again. I've got on my favorite blue shirt that I like to wear for the Echo series. And if you're joining us for the first time, that is great. If you've been here all along through I think we're up to story number 9 now, I'm glad that you're here. These are opportunities to listen to the story of God. It's just a few minutes. And the story of God is a big narrative. It's told in a series of little stories. And we want to hear over and over again, what is God saying to us? What is God like? Who is God? How do we interact with this creator of the universe? And the coolest part is He's provided a way. He's reached down. He's seeking us. We want to do these stories so that we can learn more about God and more about ourselves. Stay tuned as we jump in to the story of Moses. Exodus 1-4, the story of Moses. The family of Israel had moved to Egypt and was enjoying the blessings that God had given to Joseph. Years had passed and Israel's family multiplied so quickly that they began to fill Egypt. And we're talking filled. Soon, a new king ruled Egypt who didn't remember how Joseph had saved them from the great famine. This king, called Pharaoh, told his people, "The Israelites are becoming a threat to us. There are too many of them. If we don't stop them now, they could join our enemies and fight against us." So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves, and they treated them horribly. Pharaoh even gave an order to have every newborn son of the Israelites to be killed by drowning them in the Nile River. One Hebrew family put their baby son in a basket and they floated him down the Nile in hopes of saving his life. Pharaoh's daughter discovered this baby crying in the basket and felt sorry for him. Moses' sister, who followed the basket from a distance, offered to help Pharaoh's daughter and find a mother to nurse the baby. Pharaoh's daughter agreed, but she didn't know that she was hiring Moses' own mother to take care of him. The princess took the baby home to raise him in the king's palace and named him Moses, which means to draw out. Well, many years later, after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and he watched them being forced to work as slaves. He witnessed an Egyptian beating one of the Hebrews, and Moses looked around to see if anyone was watching. He killed the Egyptian and he buried him in the sand. And when Pharaoh heard about this, he tried to have Moses killed. Moses escaped to the wilderness and started a new life as a shepherd. Several years later, a new Pharaoh came into power and continued to punish the Israelites in slavery. The people of Israel cried out to God for help and deliverance. God heard their cries and felt deep concern for them. He did not forget the covenant promise he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. One day, while Moses was tending sheep, he noticed a bush that was on fire. But it wasn't burning up. And he said to himself, "That's amazing. I've got to go over and see this." God called out to him from the bush, "Moses, Moses." "Here I am," Moses answered. "Don't come any closer," God told him. "Take off your sandals because you're standing on holy ground." Moses hid his face in his hands because he was afraid to look at God. Then God told him, "I have heard my people's cries for deliverance, and I have come to rescue them. I have come with you and chosen you to meet Pharaoh and lead my people out of Egypt." But Moses begged God to send someone else, saying, "Who am I? I'm not a good speaker. I'm clumsy with my words." God said, "Who created mouths? Who gives people ability to speak? Who gives people the ability to hear and to see? I'll help you speak clearly. I will tell you what to say. But be prepared. Pharaoh is stubborn and will not listen." God allowed Moses to bring his brother Aaron with him to help him speak to Pharaoh. Then Moses said, What should I tell him? What should I tell them one that I go? Moses replied, I am who I am. Tell them that I am has sent you, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is my name for every generation. Then Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, this is what the Lord of Israel says, let my people go. Well, I've said this before. You're not going to believe what happened next. It got just a little bit crazy of what was going on. Well, that was supposed to be a cliffhanger. You're not going to know what happens next, although I think a lot of you do know what happens next. The story of Moses, it's such a good story. But at the same time, have we really looked or listened for what's there? Let's look at some questions again to see if we can dig a little deeper. So, just some questions to get us back into the setting. How did the Israelites get into Egypt? How were they treated when they first arrived, and how did that change? Remember how they got there? That's the plan that God had to save them, right? When Joseph brought his family. Okay, you're supposed to be looking this up. Why did Moses remove his sandals when he talked to God? And I guess secondly, why do you think Moses was afraid to look at God? This is a question that gets us to a hard place in our current culture. To actually reverence and stand in awe of God, we say spaghetti is awesome, or we say a song is awesome. To stand in awe, to take off our sandals, to understand who God is, very powerful. So what did God call himself in the story? A confusing phrase in one sense, but a very, very all-encompassing phrase. And what do you think it means? Again, we will always look at these two sides. So the people in the story, what did we learn about Moses? It's so easy. His name is so common in Bible literature and in the Bible. But what do we actually learn about him? And again, this picture over and over, I say this from previous stories. There's a lot of stuff in this story from previous stories of keeping the covenant and doing these different things. What do we learn from this story that ties in with other ones? And of course, what does this story teach us about God? God loves us. He cares for us. He has a plan for our life. And we hear that over and over again. But it's part of a story that echoes the same thing over and over again. Why we take this time, why our Sunday studies has been squished into a few minutes, it's because it's not a few minutes. It's a few minutes to think about these questions and to think about what it is that God's trying to say to us about himself, about ourselves, and about others who have gone before us in the faith. I'm Mark. I'm the pastor of youth and young adults. I want to encourage you, take time to talk about these questions with friends, with family. Go over them by yourself. They're on the website. Check that out. Make sure you join us for youth on Friday nights or be part of a small group. And again, if you're watching this as a young adult or as an adult, you're welcome to join in every week and just learn about the story of God. Bye till next time. Hey, I lost, either I don't have the page or there's no more to the story.